Hello, it's Rachel. I am doing the intro and outro at a later date because I forgot. I got too caught up chatting with Yona. But as you can probably tell from the thumbnail, we did a character tier list for Kung Fu, and we chatted quite a bit about the show in general as well. Um, so yeah, it was a fun, like 2.5 hour chat that I tried to whittled down a little bit so it wasn't that long when I put it up on YouTube. But here is that discussion. So, yes, me and Yona were talking about Kung Fu again. Or, well, Kung Fu for the first time, but we're chatting again. Um, so, I feel like these categories are kind of self explanatory, but I'll go through them really quick. So, I owe you my life. That's like, I love them and I can't be normal about it. Um, they're my favorites. Um, love them. That's pretty self explanatory. I'm intrigued. I feel like there are characters who, like, they have potential to be good, but, like, something about the execution just is not working.
Mhm.
Um, awful and annoying is basically, I don't like them in some capacity, but it's not like I need them off the show immediately, because that's what Go to Hell is. Um, so yeah, pretty self-explanatory. So, Nikki,
Mhm.
I I think I would say love them because
Mhm.
when we started season 1, I really loved Nikki a lot, but as time went on, I don't know, I feel like they didn't utilize her as much cuz like it felt like she just kind of was a tool, like a fighting tool at
Mm.
times. Um
Right. She starts off like interesting. I think she's a great premise for a protagonist. But
yeah.
there's something about like she keeps well, they keep making her learn the same lessons over and over,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's frustrating because like it's like a great premise, but then the follow through is just like, you know.
Yeah. Cuz like season 2 she just kept withholding information and then it kept biting her in the ass and it's like why does this need to happen 5 times before you get that it's a bad idea?
And like she like yes, she is the leader. She is the chosen one.
Yeah.
And like she is, honorable and passionate and what have you, and like she is specially skilled to solve the problems that she faces. But like throughout season 1, she develops and comes to see that she has her people around her. Like she has people she can rely upon,
Yeah.
but then she just doesn't.
Right. Right. Like she kept trying to do everything by herself and it's like babe you literally have a team, like that's literally why they are here, that's why they know what you do.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, I would agree. Nikki's definitely in the love them category.
Okay, so then we have Althea. Althea, I owe you my life, that's how I feel about
Yeah.
Althea.
Categorically
She
easy.
we're both just like immediately yes because like I don't know,
She
I
has the
just
great premise and the great follow through. Yeah.
and Shannon is such a great actress, like
Yeah.
I believe everything that she
Yes.
says.
Oh.
um
God.
but I mean I think her, while they kind of dropped it, I feel, after season 1, I think her season one storyline of like overcoming the trauma of being sexually assaulted by her former boss
Yeah.
and like just mentally dealing with all of that. I
Right.
think that was really well done.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I think I've mentioned this too. If not, I've probably rambled in a way about it in my
Mm-hmm.
reviews. But it's
Yeah.
just like it feels like the narrative kept kicking her in the ass because, like, so she was like dealing with all the fallout of going public about that assault,
Right.
and then she's like, okay, so I'm gonna start my own company. And then like she had all these hurdles to jump over to get that going, and then
Mm-hmm.
it falls apart in the season two finale,
Mm-hmm.
and she loses it. So then she's like trying to do other things while I guess she's looking for another job because I don't think she finds anything until she starts working for Evan. But
Right.
like literally 2 episodes into the season, she like gets that plea deal where it's like you can't be online in any capacity for a year, and it's like why is Althea a punching bag for you? Like, can she get a break, please?
Yeah. With Althea, like the her narrative journey, I feel like it is interesting and compelling, and I think she was on a good track with, because like with season one where she is like in the tech world and she's um stressed and anxious and like um deciding whether to go public about her assaults, like that is that, like, for as again quote unquote commonplace a TV narrative that might be, it is still a really big deal. Like it's a big fucking deal to go public about those kinds of situations.
Yeah,
And so like I appreciated that they gave her the like the appropriate narrative weight to that decision.
yeah,
Yeah. And then kind of finding herself and like stepping into her stepping into herself, kind of how Nikki did with finding Charlene, was a really cool development for season two. um, I wish they had just maybe continued that in a more cohesive manner
right.
for season three. uh, but regardless of the punching bag treatment that she gets, as you put it, she, like, as a character, absolutely, no doubt, she is in the I owe you my life. She's like the
Yeah.
sweetest, the most like and consistent and like funny and compelling, like so compelling, my god. So yeah, Althea is great.
Okay, so then we have Ryan. So season one, I probably would put Ryan in I Owe You My Life. Um, season one, I was like so obsessed with this family. Um, but I don't know, it just feels like he had almost nothing to do after season one.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm racking my brain trying to think of anything he did other than occasionally do some research.
Right.
And when he came into play to create that like antidote in the last couple episodes, when
Right.
Zhao was taking away the bloodline.
Yeah.
Like, I'm really struggling to think of anything else he did
I
other
guess
than his relationship with Sebastian in season two
I
and
was gonna
season
say
three.
he's there to be gay.
Right. And it sucks because like his season one storyline
Yeah.
about like it wasn't him coming out because he was already out, but him I guess becoming more
In a way,
comfortable
though.
with
Yeah.
publicly being out because that was what his whole relationship with Joe was about.
Right.
And also just like kind of repairing his relationship with
The
Jin and
parent.
Mei Li because
Yeah.
they kind of finally made it clear they accepted him even though it had been a few years since he came out.
Right.
Like I thought that was really beautiful the way that was handled, but
Yeah.
then they just kind of did nothing except half-ass the Ryan and Sebastian relationship.
Oh
Like,
my god. Yeah.
we can complain more about that when we get to Sebastian.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, it's
Yeah,
like
no, I agree with the
what did he
season one
do
development.
after season one except
Yeah,
occasionally be there for exposition?
right.
Because they had
Yeah.
to come up with some way to spout research about Zhao.
Right. Yeah, he's an interesting one because like they definitely could have made him like a kind of medical prodigy, whatever, and like he could have been the like the info dumping about the medical and like biological side of things because like there's plenty of potential there with all of the like the Shaolin magic stuff.
Yeah, the
Um,
mysticism, yeah.
but then they didn't. And so then he also had the kind of potential storyline of being the community doctor and being the like
Right.
the kind of social aspect, which I thought would have been great because
I
like
totally forgot about that until you mentioned it, but like that was so important in season one, and then it was never mentioned again.
exactly and like to me it kind of connects to some of Jin's storylines like with the art stuff and like they kind of say he's such a big community member but like the follow through I think is not there um and who knows like maybe we'll talk about this more with other characters but like if they do a season 4 I would love to see them re invest in the community medical care
Yeah.
storyline for Ryan because like he like you said he's kind of been a bit of a nothing burger a bit of like a expositional mechanism and he's not really a character in and of himself which is sad because he's so sweet and like the potential is there and the the narrative aspects of like he has felt like abandoned and othered within his like sibling set as
Yeah.
well but then once the like the family reunification happens he has felt he has had the experience of feeling othered and feeling part of and I think that could be a totally powerful uh narrative arc to pick back up on hopefully.
Yeah, kind of like piggybacking off that thought. So like
Mm.
when I was working on my review for the finale, I kind of
Mm.
like had this thought of like it feels like the writers were so concerned with like a specific narrative that they wanted to fulfill that like
Yeah.
they got so caught up in putting the pieces together for that narrative that they like actually forgot about the character beats.
Yeah.
Because like I don't know how to explain it. It's just like I see on paper how this works,
Yeah.
but it's like it's just so hard to be invested in some of these characters because you're more concerned with the plot
Yeah.
than with how this affects them as like a person.
Right. Yeah.
Because I was having
And
that thought when I was like going on my rant about how I hated that Nikki had to be the one to kill Pei Ling because it's like I've said multiple times I didn't want Pei Ling to die, but I understand why they came to the conclusion that that needed to be the ending,
right.
and I can
Yeah.
accept she needs to die as the
Yeah.
ending. But
Yeah.
like having Nikki do it, it's like this is literally the most traumatic moment of her life, and now
Right.
you're forcing her to be the person to kill her. Like,
Yeah.
do you not understand that you're just re-traumatizing her? And then to like have her do that, and then 5 minutes later, it's Nikki like smiling as she walks into the sunset. I'm like, you re-traumatized her. What is this? um,
Right. At least when Jolan murdered her sister, they're like, yeah, this means something. But when they have the student murder the master, they're like, tee whatever, cut to.
right? But yeah, so Ryan, love them
Yes.
or I'm intrigued.
Um, I think let's go with I'm intrigued for now and see how the rest of the balance kind of shakes out.
Okay, I'm satisfied with that because I was kind of leaning more towards I'm intrigued because it's one of those where it feels like there was so much potential that wasn't tapped into.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, okay, who's next? Who's next? Mei Lee.
All right. Yeah.
Um, how bad is it gonna be if I say I want to put her in I'm intrigued? Like, I don't know. I feel like I don't even know where to begin with my thoughts on Meili. Because, like, season one, it was like she's the overprotective mother who was hiding this whole story about her lineage to try to protect Nikki.
Right.
Because that, I think that ended up being like two-thirds of season one. Um,
Hmm.
and then season two, it's like her taking over the restaurant. And then season three is literally just her at the restaurant all the time and then giving
And
it up
then,
for like no reason. Well, I mean, there was a reason because the writers made it so she had to give it up, or she would have had to
right.
probably lose everything fighting. Um,
Right.
but like the
Yeah.
writers chose to do that. It didn't have
Right.
to go
Yeah.
that way. Again, it's like I don't know what to work with here.
Yeah, she's an interesting one where honestly I might put her in I'm intrigued as well because I think like a lot of the groundwork that they do with her character is great because like the premise of a woman who with her husband made it to America. She made
Yeah,
it out of China and they made it here and they had children and raised a family and started a successful business and maintained that business for like what did they say 20, 25 years something. That's
yeah,
already I think an incredible premise for a character, but then like add in the driving characteristic of protectiveness. I find that compelling. I like that.
yeah,
um, and where a lot of that protectiveness stems from being her Mei Li's kind of sense of self as a sister and a sibling to Mei Shua, I think was
yeah,
her sister's name.
yeah,
I mean, you know me, I love any story about siblings, but like sisters in particular, it's like that the like protective siblings things just gets right into my like heart and soul.
yeah,
um and so I think like yeah, those are great like starting points for the character. Um it's like just yet again it's the
yeah.
question of what the writers choose to do with those setups. It's like, I disagree, and I think that those are bad choices.
Right? Oh my god, like literally 90% of season three, I was like, why are you making this choice?
Oh my god, yeah. Ah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I'm intrigued. I think we agree.
Yes. Yeah.
Jin, great
Oh,
dad,
yeah.
sweetest person.
Yes.
I say love them, but again, very inconsistent with the storytelling because season two, they spent so much focus on him, and I think it was Frank. I
Yeah.
think that
Yep.
was the guy's name.
That sounds right.
So much focus on their dynamic, and then he just disappeared without a trace.
Right.
So it's like I didn't
That
even
was.
include him on the list because Frank felt like such a non-character to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Oh
so it's like what was all that build up for if you just
right.
dropped it like a hot potato?
God. Yeah.
And then the whole election thing this season was so out of nowhere. Like
Ridiculous.
I
Absurd.
I literally did not talk about it in my reviews because I was just like I don't even know how to because it literally just turned out to be for that stupid Delta storyline about over policing, which they didn't even handle well. Because it's like
God.
you're literally creating this fake algorithm that will like for like predictive policing, as if police don't already like stereotype people and like
Mhm.
create false charges just
Right.
to like keep up their quotas and shit. Like it's like
Right.
this already exists and you're creating this whole fake
Like,
scenario that's like not even
ooh,
possible to
scary
like
artificial intelligence. Ooh, technology. Ooh.
right? And it's just like and because they wrapped it up so quickly, it's like it doesn't even have a punch
Right.
because like we literally don't even know what's going on with Delta until 5 seconds before Nikki gets arrested. And then they
Right.
fix it in the next episode. And it's like, why did we even bother?
All that time. Like, they could have achieved that same thing of like making him a community leader, and like establishing him as somebody that people like rely upon in a different way than like just shoving Play-Doh into the cookie cutter of like, oh, we're gonna be I don't even remember what the actual office that he's running for is. So silly. And like, I mean, they have this space of look at me forgetting the name. Harmony dumplings?
Yeah.
Harmony dumplings. And like they claim that it's such like a pillar of the community. So like start using the space
Yeah,
as like
they
a
claim it's a
community
pillar
space.
of the community and then they just let it dissolve in 5 seconds.
What?
And also, okay, if we're getting into this, the fact that keeping Harmony Dumplings open has been like a stake constantly
Mm-hmm.
because there was like the threat of it closing in season one, I think at the beginning of the
Yeah.
season, because there were like loan sharks or something. And then
Yes.
I
Yeah.
think it was also an issue near the end of the season.
Uh-huh.
And then, because I'm pretty sure they said they were going to shut down, and then that's when Jin convinced Mei Li to take over, I
Mm-hmm.
believe.
Yeah, yeah, that sounds
Um,
right.
and
Yeah.
then I think there might have been another issue before the earthquake, but then the earthquake, so
Mm-hmm.
they had to like rebuild the whole restaurant. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
you've consistently made it a situation of they have, like, they are almost about to lose the business. And it's like,
Right.
why would you take it from them? Like, it's, it just, it makes me so frustrated that they
Boggles the
had them put
mind.
in that much
So
like
much.
time and effort
Yeah.
and it meant so much to the family and then it's just
Yeah.
like nope, we don't care, goodbye. Like
Yeah.
what?
God, yeah. The like emotional inconsistency of that is just mind-boggling. Ugh.
And like to an extent I get where they were going with this because it's like sometimes it is better to like let your dreams go, but like
Right.
at the same time it's like Meili has worked so hard on this restaurant since she took over,
Yeah.
and like didn't she literally say it was her dream at one point to run a kitchen?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
then she's like, "No, I'm giving it up, and I'm gonna be Sebastian's second hand." Like, what are you talking about?
I mean, the height of ridiculousness. Like, excuse me, but what? Like,
It's
never, never, like, I don't know, not in any of the universes would an immigrant mother who developed a successful restaurant and kept it alive for decades give it up to be second in command to her son's boyfriend, who he's known for like what, a year at most? Like,
maybe
shut the
two.
what? Like, I mean, but like his, like, come on, like
Yeah,
the writers can like just like stop.
but yeah, that was quite a detour. But I think we
Well,
agree Jin is in love them, even if we want
yes,
more from the writing.
yes, 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 indeed.
Okay,
Yeah.
I think next we have to talk about Henry. Oh boy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Okay, so here's the thing. Season 1 like was
Mhm.
so top tier for like literally everyone. Cuz
Yes.
season 1 Henry, I'd say I owe you my life.
Yes.
Season 2 Henry is like I think I would put him in like well, I'm not sure with like these categories, but I'd put him at like indifferent. Season 3
Uh-huh.
Henry, oh my god, so obnoxious. I could not stand him in season 3.
So on average, uh yeah.
No, but like season 2, they like completely stripped away his character and he was
Yeah.
just like there and
Yeah.
sometimes doing stuff with his dad. And like I actually liked his storyline with his dad, but like that was the
Mm-hmm.
only time where he had anything to do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
they like made him so
Yeah.
bland outside of reconnecting with his father. And then they killed his father and
Oh
it's like cool.
God.
And
Yep.
then season 3 he was just like whiny and entitled and it's like I don't like you anymore. This sucks.
Oh gosh. Yeah. Like that's the season two mirroring of how Nikki reconciled and grew closer and developed her family relationships. The opportunity for Henry to have done that as well was like really lovely and I think a beautiful potential outgrowth of his development in season one, where like he meets this girl, she's incredible, and she has this like special secret. And not only is she incredible, so is her family, and her family like loves him too. And so like he finds people and like he finds safety and comfort and security and whatnot, but see he still has this like foundational trauma because his dad kind of sucked and abandoned him, and like that's really awful for a kid to go through. And like I think you can kind of largely see, I mean, yeah, if you ignore the like the plot silliness, if you will,
Yeah.
I think you can kind of see Henry's arc in season one and two as like him deciding like what kind of man does he want to be, because like
Yeah.
when we meet him he's what, he's a grad student and he's like doing extra work at the community center.
Yeah. He's teaching martial arts courses and
Yeah.
then he's also
Yeah.
doing like research
Yeah.
for his is he working on a thesis?
I think so. Yeah.
Which
I
also this
think
is unrelated, but since you were talking about like through lines. Okay, so the
yeah.
fucking wedding ring. The fact that it was like such a big deal in the season 3 premiere and that it was never brought up again the rest of season 3.
Oh
Because the way it was such a focus in the premiere, you would think it would have to come up
yeah.
again in the finale,
Yeah.
but it just never did. That's
Yeah.
so fucking funny to me.
Oh
Anyway,
my
I'm
god.
sorry, I interrupted you for that, but
Yeah.
I was like, I need to say this or I'm gonna forget and it's too fucking hilarious.
Yeah, that's actually it's a great kind of like return to the point of what I was trying to say, is that you can kind of largely, I think, largely see season one and two as Henry kind of deciding to be deciding what kind of man he wants to be. Because when we meet him, he's a young adult, he's finishing school, he's not yet fully formed, so to speak. But then he meets this incredible girl and starts going on this journey with her and finds like, oh, this is who I can be. Um, and like they could have made season three about like him figuring out how to communicate that to Nikki, of like, I've figured out
God,
who I
right?
want to be. Like I went on this like little personal self-discovery journey, and I am now solid in who I want to be, and who I want to be is your partner, and I love you. And like you could have kind of gone from there and like actually developed the interpersonal relationship, but then they did, fuck all with it. So
The miscommunication in like just Henry like expecting Nikki to have basically put her life on hold while he was gone. Like,
Uh, the worst.
no, that episode where they reunited, like, pure rage.
Oh
It
my
made me so mad
When they
because,
were in the middle of the fucking jungle and he was like, wait, does this mean we're over? Like, I
right?
need, like,
It's like,
ma'am, sir,
it's
shut the
it
fuck up.
been
You're like running, like, what?
it's hasn't it been like 6 months? Like,
Literally.
how do you expect her to just sit there
Oh
and
my
wait for
god.
you?
Oh my god.
Like, are you kidding?
Oh my god. That was, yeah, like, oh, talk about absurdity. Like, oh, yeah, that was one of the few times I was like, literally, if I see any of these writers, I'm cussing you out because that was fucking awful. Oh,
And then the
oh,
fact that, like, I don't even know what kind of apology he could give for that, but like he never gave any type of apology for his behavior when they reunited.
right.
And then the way the writers kept like insisting like how deep his feelings are for Nikki, and it's like, okay, you had me with the season 2 finale that like his father's
Right.
death is too fresh and like
Yeah,
he's processing everything and it's just too much and he just needs to leave and it's something he needs to
right,
do by himself. But he didn't
right,
communicate any of that to Nikki, which again I understand just because of like how fresh the situation is.
right.
But because he didn't communicate any of that to Nikki doesn't mean he gets to have any expectations when he comes
Exactly.
back.
And like, oh my god. And then hey, like, so him leaving like that, yes, it's sad. Yes, it's kind of bittersweet, what have you. But then when they like clearly, specifically, explicitly established that he was radio silent for his whole goddamn journey,
Yeah.
no updates. Like, my guy, cell phones exist, the
Radio
internet exists.
silent and he's still holding on to that ring planning to propose. Insane.
I I struggle to imagine the perspective of somebody who could do that. Like,
Cause
it
like
stretches it stretches my empathy a little too far. Like, I can't relate.
um so I think, should we say I'm intrigued for Henry? Because there was potential and it just all went to shit.
Yeah, I think because like emotionally kind of resonates on the same level as Maylee and Ryan. So yeah, makes sense to me.
Okay. So then I
Mm-hmm.
think we have to go to Pei-Ling. So I think
Mm-hmm.
she's like next in prominence.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say love them, I think. Because
Mm,
granted, we don't see that much of the real Pei-Ling because season 1 and bits of season 2 is entirely Nikki's imagination.
right.
Um, but like I enjoy like the mentor figure who's like
Mm-hmm.
aiding the lead. From what we saw in
Yeah.
season 3, she's a very kind person. Like it's kind of like Jin, where she's just like a very,
Right.
uh, very kind and generous parental
Mm-hmm.
figure.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and
Yeah, and like
like,
what they told us about her and how they use her character, I think is consistent enough and compelling enough that yeah, I think love them is a totally fine category for Paling. Yeah.
okay,
To maybe add to the thought about her role as the like the mentor
yeah,
for Nikki. Something I think something particularly interesting that they do with with that relationship is um when in season 1 especially when it is like purely Nikki's memories of her and like figment of her imagination or whatever.
yeah,
um I appreciate the kind of like I'm not sure exactly how to say it, but like the internalized mentor
yeah,
function because
yeah.
like she because so like Nikki that I appreciate rather um I appreciate what that tells us about Nikki's character the things that she's learned
Through what
from.
she internalized from Paling, you mean?
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
And I like it kind of develops Nikki's character in an interesting way because
Yeah.
like these are the thoughts and the philosophies and the attitudes and perspectives that she internalized and like feels are important, and like these are the things that she uses to guide herself
Yeah.
nowadays. And I think that describes a really lovely person. And so I'm sure if we had gotten more time to actually learn about Pei Ling as an individual, like I would, yeah, absolutely love her as well. But like her place as like the kind of the guiding perspective for Nikki is
Yeah.
also, yeah, really nice.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it's only fitting we do Jalan next, as she is her sister and in season one, the main antagonist. Um,
Yes.
oh, okay. So Jalan herself is I Owe You My
Yeah.
Life, but
Mm-hmm.
similar to Althea, it feels like she just became the show's punching bag because so like season one, yes, it makes sense that she would like lose the fight against Nikki.
Yeah.
I have no issues with any of the writing for her in season one,
Yeah.
um, at least from what I can recall.
Mm-hmm.
Season two, they have that whole thing about her and Kerwin apparently like being so in love, whatever, rolls eyes. Um, but
Yeah.
but like so the last few episodes of the season, she's bonded with Mia and she's just
Mm-hmm.
realized she sent Mia down this very dangerous path and she could die.
Mm-hmm.
So she's trying to save Mia. She finds
Mm-hmm.
Mia basically bled out. So she thinks she's
Mm-hmm.
lost Mia. She agrees to go with Nikki to stop Russell. She finds Kerwin is dead now. So she's just basically lost the two people that care about her.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then she and Nikki go to the spirit realm. I don't know if
Mm-hmm.
that's the right terminology, but that's what my
I
brain
think
is
so.
offering.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah. I think so.
and she gets rejected by her mom, who was the one
Oh,
person she did everything for.
oh, yeah,
And then so she
yeah,
stays
yeah.
in the spirit realm to kill Russell, and then presumably Mia cares, but she's shipped off to the monastery, so we see her for 5 seconds. And
Yeah.
Nikki cares for the 5 seconds after she leaves, and then it's like nothing.
Jilan who?
Literally, like the way that Jalan like that was such a huge moment for her because
Yeah,
it's like the start of her redemption arc.
yeah.
But
Mm.
like all the show can offer us is that fucking Nikki Henry montage to end the finale. And it's like, hello? Hello? Jalan just sacrificed herself? Like, do you care about that at all?
Oh my god.
And then season
Oh,
three, we have Jalan trying to help these other souls in the spirit realm. All of
right,
them die trying to help her kill the harvester.
right.
So she finally managed to get her way back. She and
Mhm.
Pei get 10 minutes to make up, and then Zhao takes over Pei Ling's body. And then it's like literally just her racing to save her sister.
Yeah.
And Pei Ling dies literally seconds before she fucking gets there. Like, give her a break. Please. What was the point
That
of the
was.
redemption arc if you're still gonna be kicking her down?
I think like if I had to like theorize what was going on is that my intuition is basically once the writers stopped using her as an antagonist, they were like, we don't know what to do with her, so we're just gonna like fuck around with her basically because she deserves it because she's so evil. I don't know. Um, but like I think once she was no longer fulfilling that narrative function, they were just like I don't know, uninspired. Like they didn't actually understand the narrative that they had set up because like hello, younger sister is driven to murder her older sister. And you don't treat that as the like epic of stories and motivations. Like, as a starting point, what are you doing that you don't capitalize off of that like intense emotional potential? And the like they did a little bit here and there, but like the I don't know, maybe it's just like my attachment or what have you to the like the lived experience of having siblings that you are close to.
Yeah.
um but like they didn't do enough. they there was not enough follow through and like narrative respect for Jelan's experience
Yeah.
as a younger sibling who lost her parents in these like awful circumstances and was so driven by revenge and rage and what have you that she went on this like global journey to collect these tools to exact her revenge on all the motherfuckers who took her family away from her.
Yeah.
Like like that's an incredible story. Tell me that
And
story.
like I do think for the most part her redemption storyline was well done,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
it's
yeah.
just like there was not enough care put
Mm-hmm.
into things outside of that arc.
Yeah.
Because like how do you have her like lose everything and then no one cares that she sacrificed herself? Like
Right.
how do you write that and think that's satisfying for the audience?
Because like by that time, she had bonded with Nikki. Like they were partners
Well,
basically. Like
they
they
I'm
didn't.
not sure I would say they bonded, but they like respected each other at that point. And she definitely had bonded with Mia.
Fair. Yeah, yeah, fair. Well, like yeah, like they had those connections. And like if we as the audience are supposed to identify with and like empathize with Nikki as a starting point, like we've experienced enough of Jalan that like she is important. She matters to the story.
Yeah, definitely.
And to have her discarded like so thoughtlessly is just hurtful.
To be honest though. And then like since you said that discarded, the way that like she arrives literal seconds after Paling dies and
Oh.
then she's just completely not even a thought for like the what's going on with these characters in the future and the time jump.
Mm-hmm.
Like it doesn't sit right with me.
I'm like I am speechless at them having done that. Like I
Bird both
I
just like sits in silence.
it's like yeah, this is great audio content.
Sometimes you just gotta stew in the anger and you can't verbalize anything.
Right? Like yeah, I am speechless that they like these writers took their established primary initial antagonist, gave her this starting point of she killed her own sister. They take her on a journey and give her like yeah, like you said, a fairly decent redemption arc and bring her like full circle, if you will.
Yeah.
And the ending point is she has a second chance with her sister, but because of plot necessities or whatever, the writers decide that
Never
he
mind.
doesn't get she doesn't get to be there for her sister's second final moments. Are
Right.
you kidding me? Are
Right.
you kidding me? Are you goddamn kidding me?
But yeah, I think we're in agreement that Shalon is I Owe You My Life.
Yeah. As
Okay.
a character, he's yeah, incredible.
Okay, so I think next is Evan.
Evan.
Um,
Oh, precious Evan.
Evan is so precious. So I'm kind of caught between love them and I'm intrigued because like
Yeah.
I do love Evan, but I feel like
Mhm.
he has so much potential in season one because he was like helping on
Mhm.
cases given his position
Right.
as like a lawyer.
Yeah, I think he was specifically a district attorney, so he
Yeah,
was
yeah,
like
that sounds
he was
right.
basically filling the function of like uh a liaison to the to the police system, like without it being about police
Yeah.
because woof. Uh,
But but I mean like once cuz that was relevant for like the weekly cases in season 1.
right,
But
right.
then as soon as they started doing the Russell Tan thing in season 2, he got caught up
Mm-hmm.
in that and got fired and then he just kind of floundered around for the
Yeah.
next season and a half.
And then
And
like he's a private investigator now? Is that what
yeah.
he's doing with Sophia?
Or well, I don't know if he himself is the PI or if Althea's the PI and he does something else. But
Mm-hmm.
he does something with solving cases, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Which I mean,
Interesting.
like, sure, that's fun, love that for you, but
Right.
also kind of random.
And theoretically, hypothetically, in if we get a season 4, it could be another great opportunity for the writers to be like, hey, let's actually make this about community organizing because
Oh
Evan
man.
can he could take up the cases of the community.
Especially given with Althea talking about like how the work is too important. It's like we've seen none of your work. Like what do
Literally,
you
too.
mean?
The whole like show don't tell thing of like, please, I am begging.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Evan, precious.
So
Oh,
so yeah, that brings me back to my question. Is he love
hmm.
them or I'm intrigued because the wasted potential?
Hmm. Funnily, I feel similarly about him as I do Mei Lee. So I was.
That's fair. So we'll put him in I'm intrigued. Cuz
Yeah.
like I was saying, I love Evan a lot, but I just feel like there was so much potential that was untapped that
Mhm.
it's like hard to categorize him as love them.
Yeah. Yeah. And I appreciate how they treated him with like a reasonable amount of respect because I think it would be very easy for them to have discarded him as like, oh, he's the ex-boyfriend, he's like a tertiary character.
Yeah.
He like we don't really care about him narratively speaking, but like they gave him enough like emotional stakes in things like the few interactions that he has had with the Shen family is like, no, this guy was part of their life, and he's a fully fledged individual, and like, for example, like at the beginning of season 1 when we meet him and like Nikki's returning to his life, they let him be upset. They let him like have his hurt feelings because
Yeah.
yeah, she treated him poorly and he didn't deserve that. And so like I appreciate the fully fledgedness of his character, but I think it would have taken a little extra narrative juice.
Well, okay, since you said that fully fledged, I agree that
Mm,
Evan got a little bit more thought than some of these other characters, but it's
yeah,
just like he was still like sidelined kind of because it's
yeah,
just like it's like the same thing with Ryan. It's like what did he do
right.
after the first season? Like
No, exactly like Ryan having the potential as the medical and biological expert. Evan had the potential of being the legal expert.
yeah.
And they made some use of it here and there, but they didn't really like follow through on it. So
Yeah.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Dennis, my bestie. Um, I
Yeah.
think Dennis should go and love them because he's
Yeah.
just hashtag best husband.
Yes.
Um, I
Yeah.
I feel like
I
there's nothing I can say about him that is not me gushing about how good of a husband he is to Althea because he really is just like the ultimate husband. Like he is so good.
mm.
And like I
Mm-hmm.
adore him and Althea together and
Yes.
I enjoy his relationship with the rest of the Shens. Um like he's just a good husband. He's very understanding, he's very calm, and
Mhm.
that's amazing considering how trash his parents are. um
I definitely agree that Dennis is squarely in the love them category. He's to me similar to Jin, where they they don't get too like I don't know over involved with like plot mechanisms for his character,
yeah.
but the like what they do give us with him is just yeah really lovely and consistent and like the way that Jin is an incredible husband to Mei Li, Dennis is an incredible husband to Althea, and
Yeah.
I have every confidence that, you know, beyond the series, if and hopefully when Althea and Dennis choose to have kids, that he's gonna be the best dad. Oh
Oh
my
yeah.
god.
Yeah.
Oh,
He
oh
will they will be amazing parents. That is
so good.
100% certain.
Yeah. And like his sense of humor, oh my gosh. Like it's so good.
Yeah, I love Dennis.
Yeah.
So now
Mhm.
we're going into not part of the main cast, but
Yes.
other, in
Supporting
my
character.
opinion, important characters. So, okay, Dennis's parents. I'm
Got it.
gonna go ahead and say they're awful and annoying. Um,
Yeah.
because like we're literally introduced to them when they're like trying to convince Althea to do that prenup.
Mm-hmm.
And like to a certain extent I get it because they're rich. And like of course it's like you don't want someone to bankrupt you because like they just didn't get along with you or something.
Sure.
But
Right.
it's like you barely know her. Like, are you kidding me?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
Dennis doesn't have this concern, so maybe you should trust your son's judgment.
Right. Like talk to your children, please.
And then that whole thing and see okay, Dennis's dad. Like the fact that Dennis was like, "Hey, are you still working with the guy who assaulted Althea?" And then his dad cut him off. And then he did this whole 180 like a year later, and we're just supposed to like believe that that happened. Like I don't buy it. I don't.
Bro. My God. The oh, like talk about like not like literally nauseating storylines. Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, it made me very mad as well because it's like the fact that he disowned Dennis and like Dennis and Althea are literally broke. Like they
Mhm.
have no money
Mhm.
because you disowned him for saying please don't work with a man who sexually assaulted my wife.
Mhm.
And then it's supposed to be like, "Oh, okay, I was wrong. Here's money." Like, fuck you. Fuck you. I don't buy this. It's not a believable character turn and it's
Yeah.
the good feelings we're supposed to have are not deserved.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And God, if you tell me that a character would make that decision to have them like turn on a dime and say like JK never mind,
Right?
like it just it like takes the legs out from under the chair or whatever the like proper phrase is that like
No, but to be honest,
like like it just yeah I no the and like and big picture or whatever the song parents are like not really involved in the story. They're basically there as plot mechanisms,
they're only
but the
there when
thing
money is necessary.
yeah And like there was like a subplot about Dennis's little sister.
Season 3, she popped back up because someone had stole money from the company.
Right. From the
And so she was
foundation.
like, I don't know what I'm doing. We need Dennis back. And I was like, Dennis, don't fucking do it. Don't go back to your parents. They don't deserve you.
Right.
They should go
Like
bankrupt.
yeah, no, the conversation to have had at that point was like, "Hey, little sister, you can leave. Like, I've done it."
I think
And
Althea literally told her that. And she was like, no,
right.
we need Dennis. And it's like, no, leave. Let your
Oh,
parents
right.
drown.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
Uh,
yeah. Yeah. Dennis's parents, absolutely annoying and awful.
okay. So I think
Yeah.
next is Joe. Joe, Ryan's boyfriend from season 1.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
The way he was like so much more interesting than Sebastian.
Yes.
Because like he
Yeah.
wasn't he like literally like a community organizer?
Yeah, community organizer, and I think he was like a photojournalist as well.
Um,
So-
but like okay, so I think I talked to you about this. So in 2021, the CW had a requirement that all of their programs had to have an episode dedicated to Black Lives Matter. So that's why we had that one episode where there was the black teen who got shot, and Joe was like organizing a protest,
Mhm.
and then there's that whole thing of like the cops in riot gear trying to arrest him and all that. Um,
Yeah.
but maybe I sound like a conspiracy theorist, but like I've kind of gotten convinced that because the writers knew they had to do a BLM story, that's literally the sole reason why they invented Joe as a character, because the show has
Mm.
just not cared about black people at all.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Mm.
I'm trying
Yeah.
to think of other black characters besides that one criminal guy that Nikki had to fight 2 times.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like,
Oh,
I'm
uh-huh.
blanking on anyone else. And it's
Yeah.
not like that guy is good rep.
Yeah.
um
Hmm.
so yeah, I'm getting convinced that they literally created Joe because they knew they had to do that plot, and it's why he was
Mhm.
so disentangled from literally everything else and how they wrote him off so easily.
Mhm.
And it just does not sit well with me.
Mhm.
um yeah.
Yep. Yeah. That's that. Yeah. It's like that's another like big picture. Like actually, the writers can can please don't. Like they're what they have done for representing a
A Chinese
really
American family.
lovely yeah, like a really lovely variety of like Chinese American and other Asian American experiences is great. And in like specifically in California and like in the San Francisco Bay Area, like there is an incredible history that they could have tapped into with the history of the Black Panthers.
Yeah.
And you might know that's the one of those famous photos from the protests that says "Yellow Peril supports Black Power." So like there is a long and established history of the Asian community supporting the Black community. So if the directive from corporate was like you have to do a Black Lives Matter episode, like they could have done that in a more like existentially respectful manner, if you will,
Yeah.
without creating this like sock puppet character
Also,
that
like,
they just didn't invest in at all. So it's
yeah,
like he's just an idea of a character, not really a character himself.
but also detouring a little bit to speak on that episode. Like at the
Yeah.
time when I saw it, I thought it was really good. But like looking
Mhm.
back, it's like why did you have to kill a black teen boy to make this point and
Mhm.
have Mei Lee like be voicing all this like anti-black nonsense?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
It could have been done better.
Yeah, exactly. As with a lot of things on the CW, it could have done
True.
better.
Um,
Yeah, but like, okay, so thinking about Joe himself as a character, I think, yeah, he was really sweet. Um, and he was like um, an interesting aspect of Ryan when Nikki comes back into his life and encourages him to be more like open and vulnerable with his parents and like has the full long-term coming out conversation with them. Like it's really lovely. And then he's ready to be a serious and long-term boyfriend with Joe and like go out on dates and be really cute.
right, but okay, like the potential, like the setup
Yeah.
with like this is my first serious boyfriend, and then like the way they just did not invest in that
Mm.
because I think we got like 2 dates,
Right. Yeah. If that.
and
Yeah.
then Joe met his parents
Mm-hmm.
briefly, like properly, because they met earlier because of the protest. Um,
Right.
and then Joe was like, "I got a job offer," and that was the end. And it's like he didn't even say he took the job offer.
Right. Ugh. Yeah.
Like he said he was thinking about it, and then Ryan
Mhm.
pouted, and the writers were like, "Okay, we don't have to care about this character anymore." Like, hello,
Right.
huh?
Oh my gosh.
Honestly,
Oh.
given the writing fuckery, I kind of want to put Joe and love them
Hmm.
because like from
Yeah.
the very little we got, I did
Yeah.
really like him,
Yeah.
and like there was just so much bullshit of the writers not investing in him.
Yeah. Yeah. Like from what we got, I think it's totally fair to put Joe in the love them category. Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna do it.
Hmm.
Okay, so I think next is Kerwin because I think he was the only other important character we met in season one.
Okay.
Um, I don't even know what to do with Kerwin because like I felt like he was pretty boring in season one,
Yeah.
and his quote unquote romance with Jalan was like ridiculous.
Well.
But seeing his dynamic with his father in season two was like kind of
Yeah.
interesting.
Hmm.
And like I
Hmm.
didn't hate that because like I was actually starting to warm up to him and liking him right before he
Hmm.
died.
Yeah.
um
Yeah, the potential is definitely there. And like had they not forced the romantic plot, which was so like
I mean
let's
like
say
I get it
no.
in a sense because like I get why you want to have it be devastating that um Russell has killed Kerwin and taken his body. And if he
Yeah.
doesn't have that relationship with Jalan, then no one really cares that much.
Yeah.
But yeah, their romance was ridiculous to me.
There's like just zero chemistry. Like, oh,
Well,
come
zero
on.
chemistry and like, because I mean, their dynamic pretty much started. Well, pretty much started. Season one
Mm,
literally was Jalan manipulating him
right.
because from the moment she met him, her
She
plan was to
knew.
kill him because she
Yeah.
tried to kill him in the finale, and
Right.
she thought she succeeded, but she did not, as we
Right.
see because he's alive in the season two premiere. Um,
Oh.
so I mean, and like I even understand it from Jalan's point of view because it's like, um, you like fake it because you're trying to manipulate this person, and then it ends up being
Hmm.
real because you've been like doing that
Hmm.
too long.
Hmm.
But it did not work in the actual execution for me.
Yeah. Yeah, no, exactly. They're kind of, I think, just under invested in the potential of his storyline because like he's another one that like if you look at the big picture, you have this guy who has this incredibly powerful father, and his sister uh, kind of took after their father, like in personality or what have you. And so, like, they, yes, they were siblings and they grew up together and they have that kind of bond, but because they were always forced into a competitive position, he's been in this kind of like, not exactly like victim position, but like he's always been forced to like, quote unquote earn the love, which
Yeah.
to them looks like respect.
Yeah, yeah.
um and like that's not a fair environment. That's not a, nurturing environment for a person to grow up and have like healthy interpersonal bonds and what have you.
Yeah.
And I feel like the narrative potential for Kerwin is totally there.
Yeah.
The writers just didn't give enough of a shit to actually like do it.
Yeah, I think as you were saying, it's another issue where it's like they're too caught up in the big picture
Yeah.
that they can't hit the character beats they need to hit.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I think I'm intrigued is
Yeah.
probably a fair category for him. Because like he has his moments where he's annoying and awful, but like there's more substance to him.
Yeah, by
There's
the
more.
end I mean by the end I would definitely say I liked him.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think a more positive slash kind of
Mm-hmm.
neutral category is probably best for him.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I think it's time for Mia. Um,
Mm.
oh, darling Mia, you deserved so much better. I'm like at a loss about how literally the entirety of season two was like her literally being stalked and like trying to survive
Yep.
and almost dying. And then it's
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, she finally gets a happy ending. And then they like literally bring her back for 10 minutes to kill her off in season three.
Ah, atrocious. God, yeah. Like, ah,
Like this is why literally every week I was like, I want to sit down with the writers and have them walk me through what their thought process was
right.
because what the hell is this decision?
Exactly. Because, like, in context of the Shen family, like, that's a totally fantastic character and, like, complicating factor, if you will, to introduce. Um, and in terms of like the acting and like the charisma that she brings to the role, like she's totally there.
Yeah.
And so like there's that kind of dynamic. Um, and the plot that they put her through, it's like it's intense. Like there's a lot of emotional stake,
Yeah, it's
and
just
she
like endless
delivers.
trauma.
Right, exactly.
Cuz she had this um tumultuous relationship with her mom,
Right.
and then like when she's ready to make amends, she finds her mom is dead.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
then like as soon as she's aware of that, she's like having to deal with people trying to literally kidnap her.
Right. Meanwhile, she just spent her childhood thinking that her mom was overprotective.
Yeah, and it's like it's another situation of like, can you give this character a break?
Right.
Because like I don't get why she had to go through all this and then they stole her happy ending.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Yeah,
And like
that's yeah.
in a sense I get it because if you're coming to the point where you need to, for lack of a better phrase, delete the bloodlines, like
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand how she would survive given she's the result of two bloodlines.
Right.
Um but like at the same time it's like you've put her through so much. Like do you really have to kill her?
Yeah. And like,
Because like they didn't even do the emotional resonance of that well, in my opinion.
no, absolutely
Because
not.
they were just like, we can't focus on this, we gotta stop Zhao. So it's like we get
Right.
2 seconds to process that she died. And it's like, here, look at a photo of her to remind you that she's dead. It's like, okay, thanks.
Cool. Like this long lost cousin who the daughter of the matriarch of this family who had this like really intense and emotional bond with her sister comes back into your life. She steps up to the challenge. She understands who she is in the big picture, and she steps up to meet that challenge. And then the writers are like, okay, whatever, go die now.
I
Like,
mean, basically, though, it's like, it's
yeah.
crazy. It's crazy.
Hmm. Yeah, that's. Oh, yeah.
I think
Yeah.
Mia should go and love them. Do you
Hmm.
agree?
Yeah, I think that's a good category for her.
Okay.
Hmm.
Ooh, there's very few we like left, I think. So it's time for Juliet, Juliet Tan. Um,
Yeah.
Honestly, I kind of feel the same I do with Kerwin, where it's like
Mhm.
I I mean, I liked Kerwin more than I liked Juliet. But like
Yeah.
I the thing is I didn't like about her, it's very obvious that it's like stuff that there's a better word, but all I can come up with is indoctrination that her father
Mhm.
indoctrinated in her.
Yeah.
Um because as we like see the cracks starting to form in her last few episodes,
Yeah.
like if she had had a different upbringing, she would not be this person at all.
Right.
Um but because of how punitive and
Hmm.
cruel Russell is, she kind of had to mold herself into this very hard person to like survive.
And
Um
I think she's interesting as well because my experience of Kerwin as a character is that a lot of his personality and like sense of self is um in reaction to his father and um yeah I don't know that he necessarily ever had a concrete or like a sturdy sense of self outside of that reaction.
yeah.
And I think Juliet did. And I appreciated that she also, for as much as she was similar to Russell, she was also different. Like she was able to make her own decisions and like have her own goals and motivations and like she was she was making moves on herself as a kind of more of an individual, if you will, than Kerwin.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's interesting that you say that, because like I hadn't thought about that, but it's kind of like two sides of the same coin, because it's like
Yeah, exactly.
uh Curran was like trying to reject everything about his father while Juliet was like embracing it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So there's also that interesting dynamic that they did not touch on enough, in my opinion.
Nope. I mean, I would
So
have loved to see because like they are yet another sibling duo
yeah,
that could have been a reflection of the Shen siblings. Like, hello,
this
we
show
have.
sure loved siblings, huh?
Yeah.
um,
So,
but yeah, I think we agree that she's in I'm
yes.
Intrigued as well.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so if we're doing the
Mm.
tans, I think next we have to do Russell. I don't think there's any debate here. I think it's go to hell.
Easy.
um,
Yeah.
insufferable man, insufferable. Um, and this was before we even knew his plan. Like he was insufferable all season, And then we learn
Yeah.
his plan is I'm going to kill one of my children to inhabit their body.
Like, are you kidding
No
me? What?
soul. No soul.
Like,
Just
oh my goodness. Oh,
waste of a human being.
atrocious.
Although I do have to give him props for like all his planning and like constantly being ahead of people because like
Oh,
I do like villains being like that. I
yes.
do appreciate the mastermind quality, but
Yeah,
I usually when that happens it's an I love to hate you kind of situation. And
exactly.
unfortunately Russell was not even I love to hate you. It was just die.
Yeah. Nope.
You are
Yeah.
the worst.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Characters who are evil, who are parents, is like, okay, I get it. And that kind of makes an interesting dynamic or an interesting aspect to the character. But characters who are evil parents, who are like who make their parenthood part of their villainy is like, mm-mm, no. No, thank you.
So next, I think we should do Nadia. So
Hmm.
Nadia's adorable. I love her.
Yes.
I really enjoyed her relationship with Evan.
Hmm.
But it's another character where it's like, what did you do? Because
Yep.
she was really just there to like. I mean, she technically aided in stuff with the Russell Tan case in season two,
Yeah.
but looking back and seeing how they got together, it's pretty clear
Right.
that was just set up to like get their relationship going.
Right.
So it's
Yeah.
like she was literally just there to be his girlfriend.
Yeah. She's sweet, and that's about the extent of the character that we're like allowed to know.
She was very underutilized, in my
Yeah.
opinion. Because, like, I
Yeah.
get that it's hard to balance, what is it, 10 characters in your core
Yeah.
cast, and then
Right.
have, like, recurring characters also get decent screen time. But,
Yeah.
like, if if you're making a character their girlfriend and it's like their endgame girlfriend because she got pregnant and they had a kid,
Right.
you should put more time in that character.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like it should just be like, here's his girlfriend for 5 minutes, and then suddenly they're having a baby.
Right. Yeah. And like there's kind of hints of indications of like she's an interesting person because like if you think about the type of person that like you know goes to law school and starts working as in the DA's office and like she ostensibly has that kind of honor
Yeah,
motivation of
the
is an
moral compass because
honorable.
she's risking
Yeah.
everything to help with this Russell Tan case.
Yeah, and so more so I was thinking that like because before we meet her and before she like interacts with Evan and gets to know the Shen family, she's she's working at the DA's office and like I have to assume she thinks it's a good job and she's like, doing good in the world.
Yeah,
Um, but then she's ready to like risk that for Evan and for the Shen family. Um, and like she's I forget exactly how they do the like the plot mechanisms of it, but like she's crafty and she's up for a little Austin Powers James Bond spy action. And
she's
like
she's definitely got guts because she almost
yeah,
got caught
right,
multiple times
right.
stealing
So like
information.
there's like the buds of a potentially really cool character, but they just I don't know, didn't have the screen time or like
Also,
what have you.
Also, now that we say that, it's so funny that Althea got the spy storyline when
Bro.
Althea was doing everything behind a computer when Nadia was like literally breaking into offices and stealing
Yeah.
files.
And like
Because, like, I
oh
mean,
my
I
goodness.
get that, like, government
Yeah.
agencies obviously need people doing the tech
Yeah.
stuff,
Yeah.
but, like, I don't know. The way they set up Althea being recruited felt very much like field work.
Yeah.
And it's like, she's not trained for that, though. She
She
doesn't
has
know what to do
exactly
for field
one.
work.
She can do one high kick that she learned from her little sister. She has her one go-to kung fu move. Like, guys, please be serious.
Right. Oh.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, I think we agree, Nadia, is I'm intrigued.
Yes, I think so.
Okay, I think it's time for Sebastian. Oh boy.
Uh,
Um. I'm kind of scared to talk about Sebastian. I just. I think I was saying this to you during season two.
mm,
Sebastian just feels like a grotesque version of Henry because they have the same backgrounds of like, well, Henry was in juvie and Sebastian I think was like
in
actual
Red
jail,
Bull.
but
Yeah,
they have
yeah,
that same uh criminal background type
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
They both have a background in fighting.
Mm-hmm.
Um and it's just like Sebastian really didn't have much going for him other than like this mysterious background that I just referenced and being
Mm-hmm.
Ryan's love interest.
Yeah,
And then they throw in some drama because of his background of him like getting fired from Harmony Dumplings. But
yeah. Uh, yeah, and it's additionally difficult to like him in context of being Ryan's second boyfriend. And yeah, the speed with which they move their narrative and
way too fast.
the oh my god, absurdly fast.
And it's like
And
insane because like we were just talking about how Joe like they did not put enough investment into Ryan and Joe's relationship. But
yeah.
yet, I swear they put more investment in like the initial building than they did Ryan and
Yeah.
Sebastian
Yeah.
because we went from like 0 to 500 and it's just
Right.
like okay, I guess they're serious now.
Exactly. But yeah, so Sebastian, he's like he could be he's like for me, I would say he's cusp intrigued versus annoying because I like his kind of general premise of like he's a new chef at the restaurant and Ryan thinks he's pretty.
No, the like initial starting point was pretty good. Like I still remember their first kiss scene. I think that scene
Yeah.
was excellent.
Yeah.
Even though
Um,
I don't care about the relationship anymore.
and like and Sebastian being like extroverted and like vivacious and Ryan being way more reserved and
Yeah,
cautious. Like as a duo, they make sense and like
on paper
they're
at least.
yay. Yeah, and I feel like Sebastian's an interesting case of the writers like overcomplicating things because they did not need to make him some like aggression prone, got put in jail because he basically like almost beat a guy to death or whatever the
Yeah.
actual thing was. Like they didn't need to do that because the
Yeah, that really threw a wrench in everything.
yeah because like
Because
the premise of him being like yeah a charming and fun chef at the restaurant who gets involved with Ryan is fine. It's more than enough. It's plenty. And like sure if he happens to be good at fighting, then great. He can be like backup if needed, but it's not necessary. Like
Yeah. Again, I really can't see it as anything other than like a grotesque version of Henry.
Yeah. Not to make everything about racism, but just to like say the quiet part out loud, Sebastian's actor is Filipino. He is visibly darker than Henry.
He's visibly darker
And
than most of this cast.
yeah, and given the way that they just discarded Joe's character,
Yeah.
who is a dark-skinned black man, the fact that like that kind of attitude carries over to making Sebastian a negatively exaggerated version of Henry. It's like, the dots are connecting and they don't paint a pretty picture.
Right. Yeah, no, like I was saying, they kind of threw a wrench in things with
The violence
that
background.
background reveal because
Yeah.
it's like that reveal. I mean, it came into play in season 3, but in season 2, that reveal was clearly there to like add angst to their dynamic, as
Mm.
if Sebastian's hesitance because he didn't want to ruin things with Mei Li because this was the first time he like felt it was somewhere he could stay, and he didn't want to be
Mm-hmm.
forced to leave if things didn't work out with Ryan.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, like
Yeah.
it felt like another unnecessary layer of angst,
Yeah.
and then the writer just kind of bulldozed over that huge uh secret, for lack of a better word,
Mm-hmm.
and like because like I remember caring during the first kiss. I remember caring when they were like starting to know each other and be like, I kind of like you, like I kind of want this to be more
Mm-hmm.
serious. But it's just like the writers like bulldozed past all the steps you need to get to like a serious relationship, and
Mm-hmm.
like it's just hard to be invested when they do that.
Yeah.
So yeah, for the sake of what he could have been with his initial introduction, I want to say I'm intrigued,
Mm-hmm.
but very
Yeah.
displeased with what the writers did with the character.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I think we agree I'm intrigued.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay, and then we got Daniel, Henry's dad.
Mm-hmm.
Um, honestly, I think Daniel was another character where like he fully depended on his dynamic with Henry. Like he himself did not bring much to the show.
Yeah.
But I really liked what the writers were doing with him and Henry,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
which is why it pissed me off that the writers killed him. Because it's like, why did you spend 8, 9 episodes building this just to be like, nah, doesn't matter, he's dead.
I mean, yeah, so like for the very short time that we actually got to know him, I mean, I'm not as emotionally attached to him certainly as everyone else in the love them category. But I think that like he was treated with like a decent amount of uh internal consistency, and we got to understand his kind of yeah emotional context of like yeah he abandoned Henry and like he was not a good dad to him, but like we kind of got to see a bit of the why,
Yeah, it's
and that's a good character motivation.
yeah,
um and and the complexity that he brought to Henry's character
yeah.
was also really interesting. So, like, it feels a little funny, but I think I would say in the love them category.
Okay, I can live with that. I mean, I was kind of caught between love them or I'm intrigued, but I think you made a good case.
Mhm.
Okay, so last two. Oh boy.
Here
Zhao,
we
I
go.
think we can agree this is another go to hell.
Yeah. Oh my
um,
gosh. Hmm.
her fucking eugenics of creating the bloodlines. I didn't need to know more after I heard that. That was
Right?
enough. Then we learned about her fucking grooming with
Oh,
Bo.
oh.
I
But
hate her so much.
yeah.
And then on top of that, we have the whole thing with Paling and how
Mm-hmm.
because she had what's the word I want? She had like joined her spirit with Paling's body. She forced Nikki into the
Mm-hmm.
position of having to kill
Yes.
Paling.
Yeah.
So it's just like absolutely no good qualities.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, and like a kind of interesting outgrowth of Russell's character in that way that like her motivations are awful,
Yeah.
evil, and with every new thing we learn about her, it's like, oh yeah, this is a terrible person, and like
Right?
zero remorse, and like and their reasons for doing these terrible things, in my opinion, are not worth it. Like sometimes we're presented with villain characters, with antagonist characters that yes, they do awful things, but I can understand how in context, in story, I can understand the character's justification for it. But
Siege a
with
lot.
them, exactly. Fucking exactly. Like, oh, but yeah. With Russell, with Zhao, like, no, no, these are just evil people. And
Yeah, both very insufferable,
yeah.
both very despicable.
Uh-huh.
Neither of them
Yeah.
died fast enough.
Oh, tell me about it.
Like, oh my god. Like I get why it took off season because like Nikki killing Paling was like there's no other
Terrible.
way we reach the point. This is the only thing that will end her.
Yeah.
But like there were so many opportunities to kill Zhao
Mm-hmm.
before that point.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
frustrating.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
And last but certainly not least,
Yeah.
Bo.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I I'm very emotional about Bo
Mm-hmm.
because as I've said hundreds of times now in my reviews, he's a grooming victim.
Mm-hmm.
He's a grooming victim and he was doing what this person who had presented herself as his savior, he was doing
Right.
what she wanted and he
Mm-hmm.
thought these were things that were like for the greater good because that's what
Mm-hmm.
she had manipulated him into thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And like the narrative just had no compassion for him.
Yeah. Uh,
And it was infuriating because it's like I understand the frustration with his actions, but like once you know he's been groomed since childhood,
mm-hmm.
like you have to take that into consideration and realize that like he genuinely did not know anything other than what she fed him.
Yeah.
And because she positions herself as his savior, of course he's going to
Right.
want to do everything to repay her.
Mm-hmm.
So if she says, do this or I die, he's going to bust his ass to do it.
Right. Like the same exact way that the moment that Nikki thought there was any whiff of a semblance of a chance that she could bring Paling back, she moved heaven and earth to do that.
Yeah.
And to have Bo's situation, which is a direct mirror of
Yeah.
that situation,
Yeah.
to be treated so thoughtlessly with so little compassion, like you were saying. It's like, wow, like, ouch. Oh,
Yeah, the way characters kept threatening him with violence, The
Mm-hmm.
way we were supposed to be happy when Nikki beat him up.
Mm-hmm.
Or, well, maybe happy is
It
not the
was
right word,
supposed
but
to be like starting.
we were supposed to feel some sort of vindication.
Yeah.
Um, the way Bo literally had to revisit the place of his childhood trauma and fucking die there. Like, it. I don't have words. It makes me so mad.
Yeah. And like I think another part of it that frustrates me is that it's the way I experienced the episodes and like the narrative arc is that it seemed to me like we were supposed to think like it's a given that like of course Bo should sacrifice himself for Nikki, that that is his penance. Like he like kind of narratively owes Nikki that. And like to and rather than rather than to acknowledge and recognize that as the incredible like existentially incomprehensible to me act of self-sacrifice that was like the magnitude of, I don't know, like love feels like too simple of a word. It
Right?
takes for a person to do that. Like
Also,
the
like,
fact that they completely missed like the magnitude of his actions. I'm like, wow,
yeah, it's. I
really?
was literally thinking this is the exact same as Jalan's sacrifice in the season 2 finale. Because, like, Nikki cared for 5 seconds after he sent her back, and then no one gave a fuck.
Exactly. Yeah.
But the fact that they told us he has been groomed since he was a child who was alone in this terrifying universe with these weird shadow creatures,
Mm-hmm.
and they tell us that, they give us his backstory, and then they still want us to be happy when he sacrificed. Oh, I can't
Right.
even say it. It makes me so mad. It makes me
Yeah.
so mad. I. Mm,
And so, speaking of Jalan as the kind of counterpart to Bo in this situation, Jalan, what she, her like her starting point, if you will, was a childhood misunderstanding.
yeah,
She and that set her off on a life path, and like we experience her as this antagonistic force, but when we learn about her, when Nikki learns about her and understands the context of her actions, of why she's doing these things, she's like, oh, you were a child when this happened, and that's terrible. Like a child should never have to see their parents die. A young girl should never have to think that her older sister murdered. They're like, what? Absolutely not. That's terrible. And so we are given the kind of narrative incentive to empathize with Jilan. And that's great and that's beautiful. And I'm so glad that they did that.
but it didn't
Tell me
extend to
why.
Bo.
Tell me why that attitude did not extend to Bo.
Also, since you bring that up, because I made this point in, I think it was the 312 review as well. But,
Uh
like,
huh.
you're right that there are similarities there, but the fact that Jalan made every single choice of her own accord, and Bo was a grooming victim! Like,
That's yeah. That's
God!
that's the second point to actually what I my thought was. Jalan's starting point was a misunderstanding. Bo's was a manipulation. He was manipulated. He did not misunderstand things, he was manipulated. And the fact that we're supposed to see him as an unsympathetic villain is like, go fuck yourself. Seriously? No.
Right? It's very frustrating that, like, they gave Jalan all this grace and none to Bo.
Yeah.
And I think I was saying this, like, literally the only thing I can think of that separates Jalan and Bo is that Bo was an
Mm-hmm.
obstacle for Nikki and Henry getting back together.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, literally, do you have all this vitriol because you want Nikki and Henry back together so badly? Like, is that the
Because they don't
fucking
get
motivating
to.
factor as to why you cannot give an ounce of
Oh
sympathy to this
my god.
character?
Yeah.
Insanity.
Yeah. That's. Ugh. Bo
Um,
deserved better. He deserved eons better.
yeah, this may seem like a lot, but I kind of want to put Bo in I Owe You My Life. Because the way the writers treated him just
Mhm.
infuriates every part of my being.
Yeah, like if we don't think about the last few minutes of the last episode.
Oh yeah, the fact that they had the fucking like memorial dresser with like
Yeah.
Meshwe, Mia, and Paling, and then Bo wasn't fucking there. Ooh, I saw red. I saw red.
Yeah, I mean, really, like that's kind of what, to me, that's what cements that actually the writers meant every piece of inconsideration that they put Bo through.
Right?
Because like before that, you could kind of explain around the edges of like maybe they didn't mean it in such a bad way, but no, no, when he was excluded from the memorial altar, it's like, no, they actually deeply did not give a fuck about him. Yeah. But but yeah, so before that moment, um yeah, I think he's an incredible character. And like in terms of narrative impact, I think yeah, it's fair to put him in the top category.
Okay. So this is our board. Hopefully you enjoyed listening to us ramble. If you made it all the way to the end, thank you so much. Um, I think this is about an hour 45 by the time everything is done with editing. Um, Yona and I actually also did a similar video for Quantum Leap. So hopefully that'll be out soon, but I know by the time this is up, Nancy Drew will already have premiered for season 4. So I'm gonna start doing reviews for that. um, Other than that, everyone please stay safe and masked. Things are getting a little bit crazy with COVID again, and as someone who caught it in January, I can promise you don't want it. Vaccination is a very good layer of protection, and if you can get vaccinated, you should. But it's not impenetrable, especially as the virus continues mutating. So please continue masking, or if you've stopped, please start masking again. Um, People are getting lax about precautions when they really shouldn't, and things are getting a little grim out there. That was probably a little bit of a downer. Sorry. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. And again, thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this, especially since, again, it's like probably an hour 45. um, Hopefully, you'll come back and be interested in some future videos, but no hard feelings if you kind of want to head out, since I probably won't talk about Kung Fu again, or at least not for a while, since it got canceled. um, but yeah, take care of yourselves, stay safe, and bye.